I think that excitement and the electricity of finding the next big thing or helping to build the next big thing is really what gets us up in the morning. I think we're the type of people that really get a kick out of pushing our own limits and our own potential and trying to figure out what is our breaking point. If the goal was to hang out on an island and sip pina coladas all day, we'd already be down in Margaritaville.
Bitcoin is something that you've been interested in and supportive of. In fact, one can pay for a tour on Virgin Galactic up to the moon with Bitcoin. I think the Winklevoss twins have said that they would do exactly that. You think this is a currency that's really going to work eventually?
Well, I think it is working.
I think the easiest way to think about Bitcoin is internet money, or money purpose-built to be able to send value over the internet. If you think of the way that we currently pay for things or send payments through the internet, we use credit cards and things like ACH, and those are inventions that predate the internet by many, many decades, and fitting them onto the internet is really like putting a square peg in a round hole. If you think of the way we used to make phone calls via landlines, and then voice over IP was developed as a voice protocol, and applications like Skype were then built on top of it, and our voice now goes through the internet in data packets. Bitcoin is similar in concept to taking money and creating effectively value packets that now go through the internet. With respect to skeptics, I think that there's a lot of arguments and reasons why Bitcoin, I think, is the future, and cryptocurrencies as a whole. But I think the simplest way to sort of say it is that this is not an if, it was always a when. If there was an ability to build a money protocol in the early days of the internet, it would have been added. The only reason it wasn't added is because the technological or computer science breakthrough had not happened in those early days. It took until 2009 when Satoshi Nakamoto effectively created the consensus system of Bitcoin and solving the Byzantine generals problem, at which point now Bitcoin is part of the internet and a protocol that is viable. And I think that if you sort of step back and look at the way everything is moved from sort of the physical into the digital. When you think of music, we've gone from vinyl records to CDs, and then now digital ones and zeros in a digital format. This was always going to happen, and I think eventually you will view cash and the dollar bills in your wallet, if you still have any. Your wallet's probably mostly plastic at this point. You will view it as a vinyl record and a thing of the past that probably only hipsters will use in the future.
The need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead, as you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency.
I think that the immediate future for Bitcoin, at least in the US, there's lots of companies like Gemini trying to build the bridges and tunnels and connect the island of Bitcoin to the mainland of finance and bringing people basically into the system. So I think using the internet as sort of an analogy, that's kind of where we are. We're pre-broadband, and we think that building the infrastructure will be a big part of sort of the growth of the Bitcoin economy over the next year.
Mike Tyson was king of the ring. Now he's aiming to be the king of Bitcoin. The former champion of the world has lent his name to a new line of Bitcoin ATM.
It is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge, huge deal.
Look at all the pieces of a very big puzzle. Take our dollar. It's lost 96% of its value since 1913. The Australian dollar, it's fallen 99% over that same period. The Canadian dollar, down 95%. The British pound, off 99%. Warren Buffett recently stated the obvious about all of this. he publicly said people are right to fear paper money, that it's only going to be worth less and less over time. These currencies are dying right in front of us.
Now, I want to read some of these quotes for you now. Forbes, Bitcoin, the currency of a $10 trillion global market. Time magazine, this concept is perfect money. Fox Business, Bitcoin may become the world's payment method of choice. The Washington Post quoted experts calling Bitcoin the Holy Grail. Astonishingly secure, anonymous, invisible to the taxman, it could soon rival the dollar. And it's not just the press supporting Bitcoin. Ron Paul said dollar alternatives like Bitcoin are fantastic. They offer freedom of choice. They're commodities that offer better value than what the Fed is printing. The VP of PayPal, Bitcoin, the perfect currency by design. Bill Gates, it's a techno tour de force.
Just to keep Bitcoin running, it requires vast amounts of people to power this decentralized network. I talked about this figure earlier. Take the top 500 supercomputers, the ones being used by governments, militaries, and monster tech companies. Combine them all into one supercomputer, then make 8 of them. That's how powerful the Bitcoin network is.
I mean, I personally own Bitcoin in my hedge fund. I own Bitcoin in my fund. I own Bitcoin in my private account.